Just quieten down there. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Marcus Lynn. I'm the Trade Knowledge Project Manager here at InterTradeIreland. I'm delighted to welcome you to this morning's webinar for selling into Northern Ireland. I'm also delighted to say I'm joined today by Leah McStravick, Director at Full Circle, one of our specialist consultants who has quite a lot of experience working on a variety of our programs, helping businesses trade cross-border. So I'm going to basically hand over to Leah, and Leah will explain a bit more about herself and also take you through this morning's presentation. Can I just ask that everyone please keeps their microphone on mute, and if you have any questions, please utilize the chat function, and we will endeavour to answer as many questions as we can at the end of the webinar. So over to you, Leah. We're just on mute. Let me try and get you muted. Sorry.
I just come out of this 2 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Then.
Perfect. I can hear you now.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be able to present selling into the Northern Ireland market. And I guess when we go through, we'll have an hour and a half of going through, all of the different permutations of what you need to look at whenever you're doing cross-border sales. But let me give you a little bit of information about myself first and foremost. We'll go through a little bit of housekeeping also, but I just wanted to welcome you. And as Marcus has said, I have about over 30 years experience in sales, in cross-border market sales, and also in, I guess, developing sales teams and developing people. I'm a director within Full Circle and have been for the last 6 years, and have been working very, very closely with InterTradeIreland. So I would encourage you to use the chat as this session is being recorded for any questions that you might have. And I know that you're busy. I know that this is, a break from your normal routine, but I would encourage you to just sit back and relax. It's for me to do the hard work for you today. Maybe you want to take some notes, but this is your time to plan and to prepare for your cross-border sales into Northern Ireland. So I guess there really isn't any rules today. It's more about just sitting back, listening, and relax and enjoy the workshop. So first of all, a little bit of housekeeping. The webinar is being recorded. Your cameras have been turned off and your microphones have been muted. But on that basis, then you absolutely will use the chat function, and it's important to use that. A copy of this recording and the slides will be shared following this webinar. And I have one more document that I would like to share with you, but that will be facilitated after this. So when we look at selling into the Northern Ireland market, the first thing that I want to cover are an introduction to some of the InterTradeIreland supports. And we're going to set the scene a little bit. I guess if you think about anyone doing a sales job or preparing to go into a new geographical location, we need to set the scene and we need to understand that landscape. But first of all, I want everybody to know you're not on your own. InterTradeIreland provide a plethora of supports, but let's look at what they do and who they are. So they're born out of the Belfast Good Friday Agreement. It is an all-Ireland trade and a business development body. They are funded by DETI, so the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment in Ireland, and they're also funded by the Department for the Economy from Northern Ireland. The three main strategic priorities, and that is to grow cross-border exports, enabling collaborative innovation, and looking at supporting collaboration in clusters and networks. They are very clear on their vision and their mission. Their vision is a globally competitive all-Ireland business ecosystem that advances both economies. And their mission is to provide leadership advice support to maximise export growth opportunities through greater cross-border collaboration, innovation, entrepreneurship and trade. And I guess you're here today to find out how can you plan and prepare and sell either continuously or as a new beginning into Northern Ireland. And on that basis, it's important that you are aware of the Northern Ireland supports that you can get through InterTrade Ireland. So their Trade Hub supports are this. The Trade Hub, first of all, is a digital knowledge base, and it's easy to understand content that helps your business trade internationally. And there's the link there for that, Trade Hub, through intertradeireland.com. You can avail of telephony assistance. So it's a telephone consultation with an approved service provider that helps resolve a specific trade query that you might have. And throughout your time, whenever you are facilitating your cross-border trade into Northern Ireland, you will have specific trade inquiries. So please use that. The Trade Health Check is a specialist consultancy advice, fully funded up to a value of £2,000 to provide bespoke advice on maybe some more complex trade issues. So when I say you're not on your own, there is a wealth of expertise for you to avail of. You just need to pick the right source to ask. Now, these are ones that I have been involved in, and therefore can give a little bit more information on, but the sales and cross-border trade supports, and in particular the trade export pathway, is absolutely fantastic for people to be able to avail of, to either decide whether A, there is a market in Northern Ireland, B, what does that market look like, and are there actually prospects and sales that I can make from this? And then the third stage of that would be an implementation stage, which is let's go make sales. So it's research, plan, and implementation. So the Trade Export Pathway will offer free specialist support with a consultant like myself that will help you to grow your exports, and it's across different steps of the pathway. Once you have, I guess, evidence that there is a Northern Ireland market there, you can avail of the Acumen funding. So if that person is based in, for example, Northern Ireland, you will get up to 17,250 towards their first year salary. And in Republic of Ireland, that will be 21,562 euros. So that's towards the cost of an experienced sales resource. Plus there is additional funding there to support your growing sales team. And then you might want to look at tender workshops and advice. And I will bring in an element of tenders today, a little bit around public procurement, not too much, but just to kind of make sure that you have that within your foresight for moving into Northern Ireland. You can attend a go-to-tender workshop. You can then also avail of one-to-one mentoring and support that will help you understand how to get involved in Northern Ireland public procurement. And they will look and review live tenders and also previous ones so you can see what's the best way to win those. It'll give you sector-specific support and guidance to becoming more successful in bidding for those public sector contracts. SMEs are also eligible for mentoring once those workshops are then completed. We also have services and support around supply chain and sourcing services. So basically that's about offering businesses that are operating within food, manufacturing and engineering sectors the chance to boost their supply chain resilience with support from a sector-specific supply chain specialist. Now that specialist will work with the businesses to complete an on-site supply chain audit and mapping exercise. And that involves conducting walking through of business operations, identifying and documenting areas or opportunities for potential cross-border solutions. You'll be giving mentoring support, so you address the opportunities arising from that exercise, which could be prospecting and to be able to provide sales, sourcing, supply, or potentially that could be externally through B2B introduction and facilitation. But you can get further information and an application form to apply on that. And when this presentation is sent to you, you simply click on that link below. There's a couple of webinars that you may also want to be interested in. And further on in this presentation, I'm going to give you an example of the types of webinars and events that InterTrade Ireland run. But the first one coming up is a guide to selling in Ireland. So anybody that would be Northern Ireland based could attend that. That's on the 22nd of October. And then the next one is on the 19th of November, which is consideration for employers when undertaking cross-border employment. And you might want to look at that for the nuances of how you might carry out tax, salaries, looking at maybe some of even the cultural differences, or what's the salary expectations between North and South. They would be slightly different. So if you want to register for any webinars, please visit Trade Series InterTrade Ireland, and that's the link below. So let's get to the nub of this workshop, selling to the Northern Ireland market. I have 3 clear outcomes from today's workshop. To know how to be clear on what selling to Northern Ireland means, to be prepared and to have a state of readiness, and then to deliver and to sell. Within those 3 stages, I'm going to ask you to take actions, okay? Not within this particular workshop, but to then take the actions and to do them once this workshop is finished. I would be advocating that people will meet with other people within their organizations, and if you're just one person in an organization, that is absolutely fine. It will be very clear the steps that you need to take beyond this and how to sell into Northern Ireland. And maybe throughout this, as I've mentioned, you just want to take notes. So what are the 3 key themes and the stages of selling into Northern Ireland? Well, first of all, we need to look at the landscape. We need to look at the business information that sits around cross-border opportunities. We need to look at geographically what that looks like. We also need to look at the government agenda for Northern Ireland, and thankfully, in comparison to recent years where there wasn't an executive in place, there now is. And there is recent information, and we've brought the salient points of that into this presentation that will help you to understand where public procurement will go, and also what will the overall landscape look like in Northern Ireland, and where is the economic development focus going to be. And that is really key. The second stage and theme of this is that we want to be able to help you and support you to plan for meet your customer. So when you're meeting your customer, you need to understand how as an organization and a business are we going to actually prepare and therefore plan, and how do we actually understand our customers' needs? This is a big part of research and development when you're preparing to do cross-border sales. And then the third and the last thing is a reaffirmation of your own sales structure. I have no doubt that anybody joining here today has an ability to sell, wants to be able to maybe improve on that, or maybe just needs a reminder. So I think we look at the communication methods of selling today, and we look at things that you should always concentrate and focus on at your sales meeting, and then closing that. So let's first of all move to, I guess, theme 1, which is, what are the cross-border opportunities in Northern Ireland? And the first thing to remember is that you're only looking for a slice of the pie. You're not looking for all of the pie. When I'm working with businesses and firms, and particularly whenever there is a salesperson who has the responsibility of taking forward the cross-border sales, people tend to get overwhelmed by the amount of work, research, planning, and then actually facilitating and delivering and selling. So I always say you're only looking for the slice of the pie, not the whole pie. So don't think as the total opportunity of what you're looking for. You're looking for the parts that actually fit with your particular business. So first of all, let's look at just some of the nuances that are a difference between Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland. And the most obvious one to mention is the size and the population. Northern Ireland is growing, as is Republic of Ireland. But Republic of Ireland have roughly about 5.1, nearly 5.2 million people. Northern Ireland has about 1.9. It's creeping up to 2. That's natural birth. It's also an ageing population. But the net migration in Northern Ireland, we've about roughly a third less than Republic of Ireland of people entering and leaving the country. But I want you to think about this in a positive way. Northern Ireland culture is that people will use referrals in businesses. Once you know and you get involved with a particular business, you can then expand further into that particular industry. The smaller the size of the population, the easier it is to actually sell to, be that on a category by industry basis or a category of a customer or client demographic. It actually stands in your favour that there is a smaller population in order that you can spread out faster and quicker within those particular categories. So either industry based or category based for your demographic of your customer. So I absolutely look at Northern Ireland as being a positive from the fact that it is a smaller jurisdiction in order to be able to move around and to be able to share your sales and to be able to share the good evidence that you have done with one customer, then the referral will lead from that, and so on and so on. The other thing that I'd like to mention is the top 5 industries, and I'm going to move into a little bit around what is the government agenda. So on the top 5 industries, the government will focus on manufacturing, it will focus on information technology, and it will focus on the development of that. There was and it's still relevant today, it's called the 10X. It's a government agenda specifically related to information technology. So any businesses that are here today that are involved in the development of IT or need IT and need that innovation for their particular business, you should absolutely look at that 10X report. And I will send a summary of that to you after this. The Green Agenda, similar to Republic of Ireland, is very high on the agenda. Tourism is something that beyond the 1998 Good Friday Agreement has absolutely exploded in Northern Ireland. So we, through the Tourism Northern Ireland Board, have various different links within Republic of Ireland in order to encourage people to move into Northern Ireland from a tourist, but also through international. So we do get a significant amount of tourists coming to Northern Ireland, and in particular from Japan, China and America. The last agenda focus is health and social, and that's also about social departments. It's also about health and social care, and there's a broad mix of that. But when we look at more of the salient points, I want you to think about there are those industries which have a main focus, but there are also a significant amount of other industries that you need to concentrate on. So if you look at this right-hand side table, what that's really giving you is an indication of the types of industries that have a gross value add to the Northern Ireland economy. So I have mentioned manufacturing, I have mentioned health and social, but I also want to mention wholesale and retail trade. That is one of the biggest contributors towards our economy. Construction, education, professional, scientific and technical activities, transportation and storage, finance and insurance activities, and so on. What we're really looking at here is a breakdown of where are the various industries in line with the amount that they are offering and contributing towards the Northern Ireland economy. And you will be right in thinking, why am I asking this question? It's for you to start to put a picture on where am I in this landscape? What does this landscape look for me? And where is the industry category that I need to be focusing on? I also want to bring in, and if you're not aware of it, then it's important to, I guess, Google more a little bit about it. I do have a paper, absolutely, I can send it out to you, but it's to be aware of the Dublin-Belfast Economic Corridor. So not only do you have InterTradeIreland that are looking at an all-island approach, you have a Northern Ireland executive also looking at an all-Ireland approach. And the Dublin-Belfast Economic Corridor is designed, it is a separate body, but it is designed to be able to close that border and to be able to make that economic corridor between Dublin and Belfast a hive for economic activity. Now, they have an ambition. They want to become the leading economic corridor in Europe, achieving sustainable growth through collaborative research and development by having a highly skilled workforce and having a better and enabling infrastructure for people to have cross-border trade. And that's an important one to understand. What will happen through this, and it has already started, is that you will have foreign direct investment. You will have supports to be able to help you through skilled labour, to be able to set up maybe in that particular region and to start to network with those particular organisations and to start to find out how can I actually leverage that in order to be able to go further in my cross-border trade. So when you think about the types of industries that this particular corridor will focus on, it's professional services, it's advanced manufacturing. So there's a lot of innovation involved in that, of which InterTrade Ireland will provide supports on that. IT, life sciences, and again, advanced agriculture. Again, InterTrade Ireland will be very much involved in that in order to provide supports to those individual businesses. So it's important to just get familiar with the Belfast-Dublin economic corridor. Now, thankfully, we have a Northern Ireland executive in place. The last 3 years, that wasn't there. However, they have issued, and I will send you a copy of this, and I guess most people think, I'll just Google a couple of the salient points. I've done that for you today, but I will send out the paper for you to read. It's important that you get an understanding of what the economic vision looks like for Northern Ireland. And why is that important? One, it's a talking point with any industry or any business that you might meet. Secondly, you'll understand our landscape. And thirdly, where the Northern Ireland executive agenda is, the money will flow through public procurement. So yes, you might consider that part of your sales strategy is to be able to do private sales, absolutely. But don't negate the fact that there will be public procurement and through subcontract, through partnerships and through collaborative tenders, you absolutely can have a slice of that pie too. So start to think of yourself as a business around what is my niche and what are the people that I want to network with and what can I bring to the table. If you're aware of what the Northern Ireland executive focus is and you follow and search and research on public procurement and what is available through the different tender sites, of which I will give you those links in this presentation, you can be having real conversations with businesses in Northern Ireland that showcase that you've done your homework. B, you know what tenders are there or potentially what tenders are coming down the track. And you can talk about partnerships by bringing a niche or a problem solve to that particular tender with another partner business. And it's a very good way to be introducing yourself into the Northern Ireland landscape. I want you to think also about the benefit through the single market. This is not just where, it's easy to come from Republic of Ireland into Belfast and over to UK. However, you still need to maintain the policies and the procedures. But what I have found in the businesses that I have been working with, and we work with a lot of businesses right across the island of Ireland, but those that are based in the Republic of Ireland, like yourselves, and maybe coming into Northern Ireland, very often when they're established in Northern Ireland, they then go and place themselves in the UK. So I have found that it's an easier link for a business to come to Northern Ireland, first of all, find their feet, get all of the nuances of doing business in that particular jurisdiction to then move further in the UK. And the reason why that's easier is because the businesses in Northern Ireland sometimes already have the links in the UK. So partnerships become easy and the access therefore to those become easy. So I want you to think about moving into Northern Ireland to then think, Should I go further into the UK? And is there an opportunity for me to do that? Likely there will be. So let's think about the Northern Ireland government and their top themes and their agenda. You will see two links at the bottom here, okay, which is e-sourcing NI and e-tenders NI. When we look at these particular, points on what are the Northern Ireland Government agenda top themes, it's important to know that public procurement will follow on these. So you got to think about, what does all of this mean for my business? And my point is, where the policy goes, tender flows. So first of all, the Northern Ireland Government agenda has stipulated it is an all-island approach. So they welcome businesses to do and to have a collaborative approach on cross-border trade. They want to consider manufacturing and raising industry levels on manufacturing, and also just raising industry trade. They want to focus very much on the green and the renewable energy. That's no different from Republic of Ireland. So if you're involved in anything around the green or renewable energy and you've worked with businesses before, please bring that experience into businesses in Northern Ireland. They will focus on life and health sciences. Again, that's a plethora of different types of businesses. It could be research and development, it could be innovation, it could be IT, whatever your business is involved in. Just think about, where do I fit within these particular top themes? And these are only the top themes, of which there is about 25 of them. I've just picked out the salient ones. Tourism Partnership Board is one that I've mentioned before, and they will look at accelerating city growth deals. But that also means that we need new expertise. It also means that we need types of businesses that aren't in Northern Ireland to help us to grow and to help us develop and to give us the skills that we don't have. We will also focus on increasing job opportunities through skills development, and to be able to support all of that and to have an all-island approach, we need to look at shaping policy and having legislating changes that support that, and creating a better infrastructure. So think about, what does this mean for my business? And is there a way that I can, and if you aren't already, register onto etendersni.gov.uk and also register on e-sourcing NI, which will give you all of the public procurement, one from the Northern Ireland Government and Council-led procurement, and the other one will be public procurement, but it could be bodies that aren't directly related to the government. It could be a third arm or an arms body, such as charities and so on and so forth. So really want to encourage people to think about focusing on registering in order to make sure that they are aware of the landscape. Use those public procurement tenders to have real conversations with the people that you will meet in Northern Ireland, and maybe bring information to the table that they haven't had the time to look at. So, first main question, where does my business fit into the Northern Ireland landscape? Think about the top industries in Northern Ireland that we have mentioned. Think about the government agenda in Northern Ireland. How does your service fit into that landscape? Where would you source your work? So it's going to be privately, it's going to be through tenders, it's going to be through partners and collaborations, and it's also going to be through subcontracts. So a business in Northern Ireland could already have quite a large tender in play, and what you want to do is be a subcontractor just for that particular piece of tender that they can't facilitate, but you can, because you have that niche and you have that specific level of expertise. The other thing you will do is obviously do your direct to companies networking. You also want to think about developing your online brand so that people are aware of you, and you want to think about partnerships, and you probably want to think about a mix of all of that. The first question is, what industry matches my product and service? And where can I learn more about the government agenda, and where do I fit into that? So this just helps you to shape where you fit into the Northern Ireland landscape and helps you to be able to have real, practical and evidence-based conversations with potential prospects in Northern Ireland. So that's the first stage. If you need to take a note on the fact that you will look at the government agenda later on, the fact that you will look at the top industries, but just before we move into planning for customers, pause for a second and write down what are the industries that I think I might want to be involved in or look at within Northern Ireland, and even put a diary note in your diary planner to say, I'm going to review the documentation that will be sent out beyond this webinar. I know how busy you are, but I want to get something in your diary so that you can say, I'm going to look at the supports and I'm also going to read up a little bit more on the information to be more informed. We're covering the high level piece of information on that today. So our next part is really looking at planning for customers. This is the meatiest part of our workshop. And I would encourage you to write notes on this. I will also send out a pack for you to follow, which is called a basic sales model that I have developed, which will help people to be able to develop their sales, and it organizes them. So I'm going to go through some of the nuances of that with you today to give you an understanding so that when the packs are sent to you, you will understand them. Okay, so let's move on and talk a little bit around planning to meet our customers. And obviously the first thing you need to do is you need to take a step back and think about how prepared are we? What do we know about Northern Ireland and our customers? And what do we know about what they like and what they don't like? So you need to do a bit of research and development, and you need to plan and get your business organised so that sales becomes effective and efficient. So here's my 10 critical steps for sales planning. First of all, set realistic goals in your sales plan. Obviously, in your own jurisdiction in Republic of Ireland, you have a targeted revenue. I've given you an indication as to the size of the population in Northern Ireland. I've given you an indication as to the different types of industries that will have a significant amount of focus on. You want to be able to map out what is the realistic target and the realistic goals in your sales plan. So take a proportionate amount of what your revenue is in Republic of Ireland and think about hitting that within a certain period of time, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, or beyond that, 18 months, to really focus on what those realistic goals are and socialize that within your team. I think it's really important that you socialize what is the target for Northern Ireland and why you are going to focus on cross-border trade. You define clear deadlines in that and clear milestones for your plan. That is shared amongst their team, and it doesn't matter whether you're one person, two people, or 10 or more, but you must have clear deadlines, clear goals, and clear KPIs or milestones to know when you're going to hit a certain target. So your sales forecasting is important, and it's good because businesses work to that and they work backwards around how, if you want to go for say 250,000 or 500,000 or a million, that is a target, it's real, and you break that down into various milestones and be very clear about that. The second part of this is looking at your market and your customer research. That's key. You want to pick a niche to focus on and build traction there. So bring something which is better, more economical, or different, and doesn't exist before into the Northern Ireland landscape. That absolutely will get you traction. But even if it's something similar in Northern Ireland, pick out something that's slightly different about how you've devised it, designed it, developed it, or even about the difference of how you sell it. Something that creates a niche for people to take attention to. You want to understand your target customers, who they are, what they're about, and we're going to go into a little bit more detail on that. And you want to be able to match or map out that customer journey. That's clear. How do they start to engage with their existing suppliers, and how does that map out to actually getting a delivery order? And then from that, you define your value proposition. So when you've that done, you think, well, who am I going to speak to? Well, you're building a strong prospect list, and I'm going to give you an indication as to how to do that in a very easy manner. You want to leverage current client relationships, be that they are new ones in this particular Northern Ireland landscape, or it could be that through your existing client relationships, they know people that are already in the Northern Ireland landscape. Then you speak to them and you ask for them to do a referral for you or give you details of contacts. Most people are afraid to do that, but I actually think that that's one of the best ways in order to be able to build a new client, and that is from referral. So the prospecting and the partnerships means that you will identify strategic partners, but you're not finished yet. You will track, you will measure, and you will adjust as needed. What I have found in working with businesses is that we build what their niche offering is. We have a target of how much money they want to make. We absolutely understand the existing customer journey for the people that they want to work with and from their existing customer journey. So that's to be mapped across. And then we look at the prospects. But we find that we had to move a little on what the product might be by the time we get to speak to the customer, because they may have another customer who provides maybe something the same, and we then tweak it. We also find that we need to have boots on the ground. So therefore the track and the measure is not just about sitting behind a desk. It's about getting up. It's about visiting Northern Ireland, and it's about coming in, and it's about meeting face to face the people that you absolutely are interested in doing business with. And when you get that feedback from that particular meeting, you are adjusting as needed. So it's important to understand that this is not just desk based. This is planning to have boots on the ground, be in Northern Ireland, make and have a journey planner, have a list of people that you want to meet, and take that feedback back to your team and to discuss what that means for practically doing business in Northern Ireland. So these are your overall organisational 10 critical steps for sales planning. Now let's break that down a little bit. Your realistic goals are going to be based on turnover or the margin that you want to increase or obtain, or potentially other KPIs. But you need to set those out, you need to document them, and you need to say, if, for example, we have X turnover, we want to increase that by realistically 10, 20, or 30% within the first 6, 12, or 18 months. But you need to think, okay, well, what do you know about it already? You know the size of that Northern Ireland market, you know the size of your industry within that market, and you look at your overall business goals outside of that. You then look to, well, who's actually going to be the resources for the sales team? Who is the right person? Maybe they need some training. Maybe they need a little bit of reaffirmation as to what they do well and what they would like to develop. And look for the opportunity to be able to create, motivate, and to develop your sales team, and make sure that those resources are very focused on the Northern Ireland market based on the information that you know. But beware of pitfalls. I often see over optimism, and that's wishful thinking. Don't ignore your own assumptions. You have goalposts, you have goals to strive for, but you have to talk to people, and you have to review, and you have to allow challenges to push you further. The bigger your goals, the bigger your tolerance for discomfort needs to be, and that is okay. There is a strong attitude required for sales in general. There's a strong attitude required for cross-border. But when you work with InterTrade Ireland, when you utilise the support, when you look at the other supports that are available, when you maybe partner up with a consultant, when you look to doing maybe webinars and workshops like this, you've already made the decision that this is where you need to go. The only discomfort that will come from this is that you're not prepared or planned. And as an example, even this as a first step today, or a reaffirmation into what sales in Northern Ireland looks like for you, is the best choice to be able to make. And then you can stretch your goals from that. But we will do that step by step. The trade export pathway helps you to do that in clear steps. So don't worry. As I mentioned before, A, you're not on your own. B, you've got all the support that you need. And C, you've decided to be here and show up at the table to learn a little bit more about it. Let's look at defining then clear milestones for the export or export strategy planning. You might want to start with a 100-day plan for the Northern Ireland sales push, and you might want to break your numbers into smaller parts. Just create little milestones around that, and be that it's a yearly, then quarterly, and then monthly. But it's about, what is it that I need to know? What is it that I'm going to do? And then what is it that I'm going to have? So when you discuss what this business or your business is going to have, do that through very regular and detailed weekly reviews, especially at the outset. And all this is really talking about is getting yourself very specific and getting very organized. So you're quantifying why the time is being spent on this, what is the likelihood of it becoming successful, and how do you make it successful? Because you challenge, you motivate, and you support each other in the team to do that. But be very accurate in assigning responsibility, because your existing business still needs to continue, but you also want to be able to explore and do the Northern Ireland sales push. So your exporting plan will look at budgets. It will look at the people and the resources to do the sales. It will look at creating various milestones on what you need to have achieved by certain months. And then it will get very specific and quantifiable. And again, I have the full templates to send to you that will help you to develop all of that at each step of the way. So don't worry about where am I going to start? How am I going to follow this through? It will come naturally once you get all of the different supports and you look at this recording whilst you're looking at those particular reports. It will help put it on together. It's a bit like having an online consultant do it for you beyond this workshop. And then when you're ready, you pick up on all of the other supports that you get from InterTradeIreland, because you're ready then for those. Now, let me help you on how do you research the market in Northern Ireland. Yes, you do desk-based research. Yes, you do websites. Yes, you looked at LinkedIn, and you might have personal contacts and some staff contacts. But your local enterprise network or office, your local enterprise and office may be able to help you with some business contacts. Invest in I have a business information centre which has a library, and basically you will be able to go to that business information centre and ask for industry specific information, ask for names of businesses, their contact details, their personnel within that, and so on and so forth. But also you should follow not only the Intertrade Ireland, which has news and it has, information on their website, but you'll also have a newsletter that will come from Invest NI, and you will also have a newsletter that will come from NI Business Info. And the link is in the report, not only to the Department for Economy report for what the Northern Ireland Executive has stated is their policies and their strategy going forward, but I've given you links to how can I get the newsletter that just gives you current and up-to-date information on Northern Ireland business. But more importantly, get the boots on the ground. Visit. Really is only up the road. And personally, as part of my work, I travel all over Ireland. So I can be in Tip, I can be in Cork, I can be in Dublin, and I can be back again in Northern Ireland that same day. So we are a small island and it's easy to get around. So get your boots on the ground and utilise the supports that you get, in particular the trade export pathway through InterTradeIreland. That will shape, that will support, and that will help you get very quickly from A being in the Republic of Ireland market to being in the Northern Ireland market. It's a very easy process to follow, and you will be guided each step of the way. So if I was a business attending this workshop today, I'd think, okay, I need to make a list of where I'm going to find my prospects in Northern Ireland. So you look at trade journals, you look at the business publications, of which I'm giving you the link in this presentation. You'd look at directories, and of course you would search the web, but you'd also maybe look at files and service records about certain industries and certain businesses. You'd look at advertising and literature from either the businesses or the industries and the category of what you're looking at. I'm giving you the government publications, so you will get that. But you'll also do market research services. So you'll go to, for example, your local enterprise office. You will go and use the trade support from InterTrade Ireland. You will go and look to invest in I for the library and ask for market research. You might also look at press articles and adverts and advertorials to think, yeah, what is it telling me about that particular industry? You will look at professional bodies, you look at trade associations. LinkedIn is a very good way of finding out who are the right personnel to target. But LinkedIn also tells you what's happening, for example, in Northern Ireland in general, when you start to research your industries within LinkedIn. You might look at online groups, of which you'll probably find those are either through, LinkedIn or Northern Ireland Business Info, or you might decide that you're going to attend Northern Ireland networking events and meetups through looking at, again, Eventbrite and Northern Ireland Business Info. And again, InterTrade Ireland run their own online webinars and their own in-person conferences. And again, do your Google searches. There might be others that you know of, but there's any mix of way of being able to get a detailed picture of the prospects that you want to meet. And when I send you out the sales model as part of that, there's a very simple CRM worksheet within that. So you start to build up the names, the contact details, the emails, the phone numbers, the right personnel of the people that you want to contact. So it's very simple in a sense that although this is part of the research part of sales, sales is also a mathematical approach. So let's look at mapping out the Northern Ireland customer journey. And I talk about this, about getting into the role of sales and getting into the right headspace. So you got to think, how does a potential cross-border customer become my customer? So how did I do it before, and how can I replicate that? How do they move from prospecting to an actual loyal customer? Great initial questions to understand is, what do you want your product or our product to do for you? This could be a question that you would potentially ask a prospect. So what do you want my product to do for you? What features of this are important to you and why? Do you have a budget for this, or what is your budget? And what is the problem that you need solved? And therefore, that's when you start to focus on what is your value proposition and what is your niche. So look backwards. When was the last time you bought something similar? Okay, brought something similar for a service or a product. And was that a good or a bad experience, and why? And how did you make your decision? So just put yourself into the shoes of the person that you want to sell to and imagine that they are actually buying from you. What was the decision-making process like? How did you evaluate different offers? And what were the deciding factors that made you choose that particular solution? And then you look forward. Well, what needs to happen to make this person a particular customer? And you maybe ask them that. What would it take for you to become a customer? What is it that you're looking for that I can potentially help you with? And all you're really doing prior to actually meeting with your customers is getting into the right headspace. And when you've got those two things done, so you've got how you can find your prospects, how I might approach these particular clients and this particular industry and these particular businesses, take what you know, build out a list of the people that you want to target, and that becomes your real directory. And what you could do is you could target up to 5 people in each of those organizations. Once you have that list, it's important that you keep track of them. And then that's what I'm going to send out to you, the sales CRM, and you will just complete that. So if you are a complete novice in sales, or you are a very experienced person in sales, in each of those different, I guess, levels of sales, any of the templates and any of the information that we send to you beyond this, including this recording and including the nuances of what's in the detail of this presentation, it will help you to get organised, and it will help you to reaffirm how you can go about getting sales in Northern Ireland. Let's talk a little bit more about understanding your customers' needs. There's been a bit of a change since COVID, but I want you to ask yourself these questions. What makes you different from other suppliers? A, in your own marketplace, and B, in the new marketplace in Northern Ireland. Be very clear on what makes you different. You may only get the opportunity to have 10-15 minutes with some of your initial prospecting. So if you get someone on the phone, they might say, you've got 10 minutes, tell me why you're different. Have that absolutely at the forefront of your mind, and have not necessarily a sales pitch, but have it more organic. Have it to the point where you understand exactly that you know what that business does, but here's what makes you different, and therefore what can you offer them that they won't get anywhere else. Think about any risks that there might be in doing business with them or vice versa, and either eliminate them in the first conversation or advise we look at those risks and we'll view those as we go along, so that they're out on the table and that they're starting to develop a very open and trustworthy conversation. Think about asking this question: what commitments will you make to keep me happy? Because that's what they might ask you. They might say, what are you going to commit to me, and why would you make me happy? Or they might say, how easy is it to do business with you, so make it easy. Whether you actually innovate and change how you do things online, or you review your whole sales process, make it as easy as possible. The person that you're doing business with, that particular business, will want you to understand their problems. They will want you to help them to solve their problems. So I want you to really get into the head of you as a business selling, you as a person selling within the Northern Ireland landscape, understanding that landscape, understanding what you bring differently, and understanding your specific customer needs, so that you immediately go with, I can solve a problem, I understand, I'll make it easy for you to do business with me, I will make you a commitment. There are some risks, or there are not some risks, but let's talk about them, and this is what makes us different. So I've just reversed that whole process there, and that's a way to approach looking at prospecting with someone new, particularly in Northern Ireland. So I had mentioned before that there are some changes beyond COVID. So absolutely, hybrid shopping and service models. So some of your new businesses that you will prospect with in Northern Ireland may not necessarily have the time or will want to meet you initially in face-to-face, but they will speak to you over a Teams or a Zoom. So just be prepared that you still need to do the right preparation. You still need to send them a brochure, or you need to send them a up-to-date website, or you need to send them an up-to-date link to a presentation, something like that, and make it as easy as possible for them to review. Once they've reviewed that, phone them back, and basically you're saying, look, this is what I've sent you before, but I think there's something else that we need to discuss, and we'll do that in person. And remember, from the fact that we are now all working on an online, partly, not all the time, and I definitely believe in in-person sales, but competition is fierce now. If you have something that is easily accessible somewhere else, think about making it quite different before you move into any new geographical location, but in particular Northern Ireland. So we work on a global landscape, we're international, and online services with IT developments mean that there's just simply more choice for customers. So I really want you to get very detailed as to what is your value proposition. Industries are going to change fast with new technology, and changing customer habits are actually changing due to emerging needs. So that means typically, if we're doing prospecting as part of trade export pathway, Once we've done our research, we might actually create some marketing collateral to help the business to be able to do online sales, to then get a direct in-person face-to-face meeting. So if you don't have all of the online collateral, marketing and sales material, you can be supported to get that, but you absolutely need to have that for your first, second conversations before you get to meet the people. So look at how you can manage your online and your field sales. So part of moving into Northern Ireland will be doing online sales. But it's important to understand that you need to follow that through with boots on the ground field sales. So sales, customer service, relationship management skills, we know all of these are vital, even when our business and personal world is becoming more automated. 75% of customers still choose to interact with a real person. So the online part just happens at the start. But we are doing and using automation for our shopping. It slightly dehumanizes where we're at and how we're buying. So we've got artificial intelligence, we've got chatbots, we've got advertisements, we've got pop-ups. We are bombarded, but you want to be able to do some of your online campaigns, develop your LinkedIn, develop your website, develop your brochure to make sure that it is state ready. But once it's state ready, once you've started to do your prospecting, once you've looked at the Northern Ireland landscape and you understand the people that you want to speak to, the reality is the more important you make that service or product to the end user, the more people will tend to agree to a human route, i.e. come speak to me. So 84% of people will say that customer service and how they were approached and how they were managed is a key factor in making a purchase. But also think about that as a, parallel process. What your customers say about you in Republic of Ireland, that is positive, which I imagine it is. You take that and you showcase that to the Northern Ireland businesses that you want to work with. If you can do that in Republic of Ireland, then it's a no-brainer to be able to do that in Northern Ireland. But remember, if you haven't got that right, 92% of customers are going to walk away if you don't have good customer service. So you can be working on elements within your customer service in Republic of Ireland whilst you're prospecting and whilst you're getting ready to do business in Northern Ireland. It doesn't mean to say that everything has to be perfect. It doesn't. It just means that things will improve. And I want you to think about considering their model of the world. Think about what do they value. And this, I guess, is a bit of a focus from Daniel Goleman and looking at emotional intelligence and sales. And it's about how you build strong relationships with key customers. It's fully understanding the current and emerging needs of their business and their customers. It's objectively measuring performance to date in not only meeting their needs, but exceeding them. You've got to bring something different to the table, or you got to position it in a way that it is different. And then you got to identify specific areas of improvement in terms of customer relationship management, in terms of business development, so that the business can be, I guess, seen to be a strategic partner for them. And that is another way of actually getting, I guess, a foothold into the Northern Ireland market. Be seen as different, be seen as a strategic partner, be seen to be knowledgeable about the industry landscape, and that will get people to sit up and take notice of you. Once you have your niche, once you've identified your targets, you get to know as much about them as possible. You're building the ideal customer profile, so the size of the organisation, the maybe culture and nuances of that particular business, where it's based. So if you think about Northern Ireland, big manufacturing part is based in Mid-Ulster. If you think about IT, a big part of that is based along the Dublin, Belfast economic corridor. If you think of outsourcing, there's big outsourced organisations in Belfast, in Derry, in Londonderry and in Donegal as an example, but you'll think of where those different cultures and sectors are positioned in Northern Ireland, and you will qualify your leads in that, and that's important. You'll understand what maybe their objections are and their perceived risks might be, and you'll be prepared for those. So once you know the type of company you want to target, it's time to get inside their head. You start hanging out where they hang out. Look at their social media. What's their network of choices? Are they Facebook? Are they LinkedIn? Are they Instagram? Are they a mix? Become responsive to their social media presence. Start to get online with them. Start to build an online presence. Think about what their current news is stating about them, and think about what events they would likely to be at, and then be at those events. So, what do you think you need to do now in setting your realistic goals and establishing clear deadlines for your Northern Ireland cross-border sales? So this is a real action to take beyond this workshop. You want to start and set a realistic goal, A, in revenue, B, who are the resources, and if it's yourself, then set time in your diary. And then focus on what is it I actually need to do to build the prospects, to look at the research, to build what the added value is, and to look at your actual proposition for Northern Ireland, building on the successes that you already have in Republic of Ireland. So that's the second question, but maybe the first real action is to set a realistic goal to start or continue on your cross-border sales planning. So your intention is very important in that. You might want to use this high-grade qualification for the sales. Solution. Can you provide a solution? Competition. Are you likely to win? Only you, or is your prospecting dealing with other people, or is it just you? Timing on that. So will this actually start? So when you're prospecting with somebody, do you think we can work together, and therefore when could we start? Is it scalable? So maybe there's more potential for your business to work together in the future. You might think about, does your prospects actually have the money to spend with you? Are you speaking with the right decision maker? So therefore, who is the authoritative person and the budget decision making person that you should be speaking to? And before you go to meet with them, think about, does your prospect really need to do that particular project or that particular business, and create a need so that you can put that onto the table and discuss it. So that's just a quick high grade qualification before you're going into develop your prospects. Really important to check out the competition in Northern Ireland, and really important to bring something which is slightly different. Look, that could be that you are more economical. It could be that your product has more features and benefits. It could be that it's exactly the same as one that sits around the corner, but you can get it to them quicker. You have a little bit of innovation around economics, distribution, and maybe some nuances around it, but you will want to look at making it in some way different, okay? Because that will make you stand out, and specifically that will be your competitive advantage. So you need to understand, what are those competitive advantage. You need to understand the specifics of the marketplace where you hold that advantage. You need to target the efforts on the marketplace, and that should improve your sales. So get clarity on your Northern Ireland competitors, and then you design your marketing and your communications for the Northern Ireland cross-border to shout about what your strengths are. Do that through pre-online brand development, pre-online social media, networking on LinkedIn. Say, we are different because, looking to the Northern Ireland tenders on e-tenders and e-sourcing to say, if that tender exists, we're going to bring something very different to that. And then finally, when you are actually going to the prospects and the meetings, you'll know exactly why you're different. And that can be a very quick 10-minute conversation. So a lot of the preparation and hard work saves time in the meeting. It means that you're fully prepared, you're fully at a state of readiness to make the deal and to close the deal. So defining your value propositions for Northern Ireland is about what sets you apart from competitors in the Northern Ireland cross-border market, and consider, why do customers buy from you? Why do your customers buy from the competitors and not from you? Why do some potential customers not buy at all? And what do you need to do to be successful in that? So customers will buy benefits. They'll value the product or the service features. Always focus on what your product will do for their customers in Northern Ireland or your new customers in Northern Ireland. But a strong competitive advantage reflects the competitive strength of your business. Maybe it's unique or it's cost effective or it delivers more, but it has to be very clear and simple in your marketing. Yes, it may change over time because competitors sometimes steal ideas and they keep moving, but you can always be supported by ongoing market research as the trends change and keep abreast with those and keep up to date with those to help you to really define a clear value proposition. So think about also this next action. What do I need to do to complete my value proposition for Northern Ireland? Yes, you've done it in Republic of Ireland. So look at Northern Ireland, look at what you've done there. And when you've got it right for Republic of Ireland, you also then can bring it into Northern Ireland. So what have I done in Republic of Ireland to bring it into Northern Ireland? And what actions do I maybe need to take now to identify my niche? So that's a second action that I'd like you to focus on beyond this workshop. How and why would I be different in Northern Ireland? Because that will absolutely take you to market a lot quicker. It will absolutely allow you to speak out, be seen, be heard on your brand development. But equally, when you're in front of someone, it will make you stand out head and shoulders above everybody else because you will bring something different to the table. And we are seeking people who are bringing something different to the table. So how can I get you ready to be able to have boots on the ground? And that's one of the next steps for us. So we've looked at what is the overall landscape in Northern Ireland? What's the government agenda? Where's public procurement coming from? What supports can I get to be able to help me to do this? What does my value proposition look like? What prospects am I going to get? But actually, you need to stay informed. You need to be on top of the game and look at what Northern Ireland offers. So by staying informed, go on to nibusinessinfo.co.uk and sign up for their newsletter today. That's going to give you business advice, local support, news and events that are on. Those events are going to be key for you to go and meet the people that you might want to prospect and sell to. So sign up for that newsletter today. As part of the Northern Ireland Business Info events, here's an example of what they might be running. Now, these were taken back in September, but they also have information around conferences that are happening in Ulster University. They give you information from Invest NI. They give you more information as to how you can actually sign up for different events that happen around, business supports, but also looking at local business news. But there is a plethora of events that are happening. And guess where you also find them? Eventbrite. So if you register for Eventbrite NI, it sends you dates of different events that are happening. So Monday the 14th of October, as an example, in Titanic Hotel, there is an event that is Northern Ireland's Sustainable Future. It's about data and it's about NI or AI, artificial intelligence, but that might be something of interest to you. You also have the Northern Ireland's first green industry sustainability showcase happening in the Belfast Harbour Studios. Okay, just happened on the 2nd of October there. And then there was one there as an example, and these run quite often. So this is the Northern Ireland Regional Group. So for example, it's looking at, for example, what is happening in businesses in Northern Ireland and how those businesses change and how industries change over time. But you will never be stuck if you focus on InterTrade Ireland's events. They do trade series. They do Business Explorer breakfast series. They do export clinics. They do the workshops for Go to Tender. They do webinars like this. They look at innovation. They look at, a guide to selling and so forth, which is the Republic of Ireland equivalent of this on the 22nd of October. So today you're on a guide to selling into Northern Ireland. On the 22nd of October, there will be another one, a guide to selling into Ireland. They're run periodically. You've got the 9th of October, A Journey to Success, which is a personal account of how a business explorer worked, for example, on iAcoustics. But that's just an example. There are nuances in that help you understand what can I glean from that. And guess what? You're meeting people. That's the key thing. Also, if you want to look at Trade Export Clinic, Yes, one happening in Wexford Talbot Hotel. You can do go to tender workshop, etc., etc. I mean, that's the first page, guys, of what is on the InterTrade Ireland events. There's always something, and that is updated very regularly. So even if you use InterTrade Ireland, absolutely there will be enough there. But there is on Eventbrite, there is information on NI Business Info, and you can use the Invest NI library to get information on your prospects and market research. So I would encourage anybody to have boots on the ground in the jurisdiction that they want to sell into. So, for example, Northern Ireland, come visit, come up for the day, make a couple of prospect calls once you've done your research. Ask, can you host them in a coffee or a lunch, or just basically, can you go to their premises? It doesn't have to cost too much to have boots on the ground. And whilst you're here, it could be the first half of the day that you're meeting people, it could be the second half of the day, or vice versa, that you're actually attending an event. So think about what you need to build your prospect list and how you need to identify partners by being in person or online. And that will help you in your Northern Ireland cross-border market. So you need to potentially look at, do I need to research this market a little bit further? Do I actually need to build a prospect list? And on that basis, can I work with a consultant that will do that for me? And if that's the case, and the answer to the first two questions are yes, and then you want to be able to sell, or even if you've done those first two parts and you still want to sell, then go and apply for the trade export pathway, because you will get a consultant like myself that will take you through and guide you through each step of the way and to help you to do a lot of that work. And I understand that businesses are busy and don't have the time to do a lot of what I've described today. So therefore you utilize a consultant to be able to do that. But that consultant shows you how to do it, what to do, when to do, and actually gets you set up with meetings within Northern Ireland. So guess what? They do it for you so that you just repeat it. You're also leaving as part of that trade export pathway at the end of that with a full list of prospects, a full list of how the sales process went, contracts hopefully, and also then maybe some marketing collateral. So it's well worth considering if you want to have boots on the ground and business in cross-border. This last bit will only take me 10 minutes, and then we're going to have time for questions and answers. And I know there are salespeople here who are very experienced, and there may also be people who are not so experienced. What this sales structure is designed to do is to pull it all together and to reaffirm what it is you need when you go into the sales meeting. So look, we've looked at what Northern Ireland looks like. We've looked at how you research your industry. We've looked at how you prepare to meet that industry. We've looked at how you can define your value proposition and how you can build up on your prospects. But what happens when you get there? All well and good. That planning and preparation is absolutely key. But what happens when I get there? So what does the sales structure look like? So think about becoming a helpful strategic partner. Maybe that's called a complementary service provider, but you can build on that. So you can be in Northern Ireland, you could be writing for a publication, you could be giving speeches at seminars, you could be providing resources for people's websites through blogs and support. You could be starting your own network or your mastermind group, and you can maybe just swap out contacts. But it's about providing value to complement businesses, and it's about fostering a culture of growing together. That's a very good way to get a foothold in the Northern Ireland market. Be a strategic partner and be a complementary service provider. So if I was the salesperson and that's what I wanted to do, these are the types of activities that I would focus on. And this is what I call creating a robust structure day by day, week by week, to make it happen online and offline. And this is part of the template that I'm going to send to you, which is the sales model. This is the sales and marketing part of it. Very often I find that business owners and people who are very well embodied in the business already, they're too busy to do this. So I often say, well, is there anybody that's junior within the office, Or do you need to employ a marketing graduate? And if the answer to that is yes, they can pick this up and follow this very easily. So for example, over a course of a month, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, on each of the weeks of the month, they can actually be following this. So for example, on Monday, they might send out some marketing emails, maybe people that have made inquiries before. On the Tuesday, they're doing some social media. They may be doing direct messages, or they're following up on any of their engagement. They might be looking at LinkedIn on Wednesday. They might be looking at doing prospecting follows up on Thursday. And Friday to me is my let's get meetings in the diary date. And this goes on. It's a reiterative process on how you actually make sales happen through sales and marketing. So you can take this, you can have a look at it, but it's very easy to follow for anybody that does the sales and marketing in your business. And remember, the sales plan is reiterative. Sales is mathematical. It's about sitting down and working through what is the total amount of money that you want to make, who are the people that you might want to engage with in order to be able to make that, what is the information that you need to know about that with those people, and how do you go about approaching them. So you need a marketing plan to do that. You need your advertising so that people will know who you are. That's a mix of social media, blogs, website news and updates. You do need to have an overall schedule and manage your online engagement, just as I have mentioned in the slide before. Don't forget the traditional sales method. So you need to make it personable. You need to meet them in their model of the world and be a problem solver. Follow up with your engagement. It can be online or it could be a traditional. And you want to have a balance of that. A balance of contact and genuine value and care. So if it's the right level of intention, it will work. If customers feel ignored, or if you've picked up that person and then you don't have the time to follow back from them, they're going to move elsewhere. But if they feel pushed, they're going to switch off. So you need to have the right level of attention. Strategic thinking and planning from a sound knowledge base will keep your motivation high, and it will keep where you need to tweak and change possible. And that is a constant cycle of improvement, and it must be measured and monitored on a regular basis. So when you're preparing to meet your customers, you need to think of what, why, and when. So look, you know the landscape because you've given nuances and ideas and a guide as to how to know the landscape. Let's assume that you've researched the industry. Let's assume that you know now why you're approaching, and you need to prepare then for the individual meetings. So in the preparation for the individual meetings, you need to think about your summary career history. Who are you and why would we buy from you? What's your qualifications? What's the experience of you and your industry and your company? And what's the achievements? You need to give them basics like your length of time in business, your track record, high profile customers, geographical spread of your operations, who your people are and your resources, what's your major achievements and successes and awards. So selling is about information. It's not about flogging. It is about evidence-based information, which will provide a bottom line of a way to you to position yourself as an expert in the field. So it must be based on data. Otherwise, you're someone who's just trying to flog something. That's not what sales is about. Sales is about providing the expertise to provide trust and reassurance. And at the end of the day, that person is buying an emotion from you, which is trust and reassurance. So that's just the basic principles. And that's whether that's in person or by phone, it's the same principles. So when you're making your quick introduction and your prospecting, that's what you need to focus on. You want to articulate your competitive advantage. And before you go into any meeting, write down your 3 compelling reasons as to why they, the customer, would buy from you as opposed to another company. Make sure it's impactful, make sure it's memorable, make sure it's evidence-based, and that it's non-bland. You need to stand out and you need to stick out. And on that basis, they're saying, well, why would I buy from you? Just give them 3 simple reasons. When you're taking control of the meeting, that will help you to get to the right destination, which is a successful another meeting or a successful sale. So there are 3 things that you want to maybe do today. I want you to tell you a little bit about my company and why I think that we could potentially add real value to your business is your opening line. Secondly, you might want to say, want to find out about your problems, challenges, headaches. What's the aspirations for your business? And ultimately, I want to see if we can do business together. When you do that, you have control of the meeting, and therefore you're more likely to get to where you want to with the right responses. And when you're focused on actually being in the sale, a lot of people leave and they don't ask for the opportunity to do business. You got to make sure that your person that you're meeting and the business, whether it's a group or one individual, but you got to make sure that you have the courage to ask for what you want, the opportunity, submit a proposal, a follow-up, a meeting, or an order, something. You need to close it, but you do need to say, are we ready to do business? Or can we follow up with a proposal? Can we follow up with another meeting? But you must close that particular sale. So I'm not here to be able to teach people how to sell. I'm here to be able to get people state ready for selling in Northern Ireland. So understand your landscape, understand the Northern Ireland industry, understand the category of industries that you want to prospect with, understand how you plan and prepare to get the devil of the detail on those prospects, i.e. the people you want to contact. Set about having a sales model plan. I'm going to send you the templates of that, and then prepare to meet your customers. And absolutely, beyond the research, have boots on the ground and come to Northern Ireland. So as a summary, Google, internet searches, find the goods and services of the people that you want to service. Look at other websites and social media and start to look at, what is it that people are saying about you and what is it that people are saying about the people that you want to approach. Make sure you want to do business with them. Look at previous testimonials, look at the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the socials are going to give you that. Look about how you're going to make changes to the person that you're going to sell to, and maybe any changes that you need to make for your particular business before you go to that market. But again, be very clear on your market knowledge. Look at all of the different alerts and go to the different supports that I've given you to say, help me to do this. Be on point, keep updating, keep checking in, and then look at maybe if there's any new habits or any new values that are coming from your particular industry as to how people are buying. Are they more online? Are they more in person? Is there a bit of a mix? But what are the features and benefits that they're looking for? And can you provide that? And then most importantly, you as the salesperson or you as the business owner have the leadership responsibility to make sure that people have the capacity and to be able to keep up the momentum. So with all of that in play, I want you to maybe stop and think, what's my